You know, most of us are taught that impermanence just means things change, right? That mindfulness is all about staying in the present moment. And that if we just watch our thoughts and feelings long enough, suffering will eventually go away. But a lot of us discover something kind of uncomfortable. Even with all that practice, something inside still feels like it's leaning. It's expecting experience to finally click, to finally work. Today, we're going to explore a huge missing piece, how the fundamental arrow of time in physics actually reveals the true structure of our minds, and why seeing that changes absolutely everything. Okay, so let's jump right in with a really simple question from the great physicist Richard Feynman. You drop a cup. It shatters into a million pieces. You wait, but those pieces never ever just jump back together to form a cup again. I mean, it seems obvious, but the question is, why not? Seriously, think about it. Why doesn't the movie of our lives ever run in reverse? And this is where things get really weird. Because if you look at the fundamental laws of physics, things like gravity, electromagnetism, they are totally reversible. They don't care about the direction of time at all. A planet orbiting the sun would look perfectly normal if you ran the film backward. The atoms themselves have no memory, no sense of past or future. And yet, our entire reality, everything we experience, is built on a one-way street. We remember yesterday, but the future is a total blank. Now, the usual answer to this whole puzzle is a concept called entropy. And you've probably heard it described as just a measure of disorder. But it's a little more precise than that. It's really about counting all of the different ways things can be arranged. And this is how pure probability gives time its arrow. Think about it like shuffling a deck of cards. Sure, any specific mixed-up order is just as unlikely as a perfectly sorted one. But here's the kicker. There's only one way for the deck to be perfectly sorted, and there are literally billions upon billions of ways for it to be all mixed up. So the universe isn't following some rule that says get messy. It's just moving from a state that has very few arrangements to a state that has a mind-boggling number of arrangements. It's just statistics. But hold on, that just opens up an even bigger can of worms, doesn't it? If the universe is constantly falling apart, always moving toward chaos, then how did any of this incredible order, I'm talking stars, planets, life, even you, how did any of it come to be in the first place? Why isn't everything just a boring, uniform soup of particles? Well, the answer, amazingly, takes us all the way back to the very beginning. For reasons we don't totally understand, the universe started in a state of incredibly low entropy. Imagine it like a giant spring that was wound up unbelievably tight at the Big Bang. All the order we see around us today is just that spring slowly unwinding. So, get this. The arrow of time, the direction of time, it isn't a fundamental law of physics like gravity is. It's a condition. It's a memory of how things were set up at the start. Think of it like the stage was tilted from the very beginning, and everything has just been rolling downhill ever since. Okay, so we've talked about the cosmos, we've talked about shattering cups, but what in the world does any of this have to do with the feeling of a restless mind? How does this all build to something personal? Well, most of us learn about mindfulness in a particular way. We're told that impermanence just means things change over time. Our job is to stay in the now, to watch the movie of our experience play out. And the idea is that if we just endure, if we just watch long enough, things will eventually settle down. But many of us find that there's this subtle dissatisfaction that just won't go away. There's this constant, quiet expectation that things should finally settle, that this moment should be a stable place to rest. This feeling of leaning on our experience, that's a huge clue that we're missing something really important about the present moment itself. And this is the missing piece. It's the difference between seeing things temporally, like you're watching a movie, and seeing things structurally, like you're reading a blueprint. Temporal seeing is always asking, okay, what happens next? But structural seeing looks into the moment and asks a much deeper question. What conditions are holding this moment together, and why is that support guaranteed to fall apart? This completely flips the script on what we're trying to do in our practice. The instruction to stay in the present moment accidentally makes it sound like the moment is some solid platform we can stand on. But a structurally accurate insight is totally different. It's about seeing the moment for what it really is, an intersection of conditions that are, by their very nature, already coming undone. And this brings us to a whole new understanding of impermanence, or anicca. It's not just that things change over time. It's that just like that shattered cup, there is no structural basis for anything to stay put.
The conditions that support any feeling, any thought, any experience are just naturally falling apart. Lastingness was never even an option.
And when you really see it this way, the three classic marks of existence, anicca, dukkha, and anatta, they stop being three separate ideas you have to learn. They become one single, simultaneous insight. It's like this. Because no condition can hold itself together, that's anicca. Trying to lean on it for support has to create a feeling of strain. That's dukkha. Which means, of course, that no self or controller could ever manage or own it. And that's anatta. It's one fact, just seen from three different angles. Okay, let's make this super concrete. Picture this. You're meditating, and a sharp pain shows up in your knee. Now, before this structural insight, a hidden expectation kicks in automatically. This should stop, or if I just sit a little better, this will go away. That expectation creates resistance. It creates tension. And that resistance is the suffering. Now, let's rewind and see what happens to the exact same event after this insight. The pain arises in the knee. The raw sensation is 100% identical. But because you've seen that no experience has any structural basis to hold on or stabilize, you don't place any expectation on it. There's no demand for it to change. The pain is there, but the argument with the pain, the suffering, is just gone. So you see, liberation, freedom, it all happens at the level of this deep-seated expectation. It's that silent, pre-verbal demand we place on everything we experience. It's the assumption that this feeling, this moment, should finally be the one that works, the one that settles down and provides some kind of stable ground. This is exactly what the teaching of the two arrows is all about. Look, life is always going to shoot that first arrow, the raw feeling of pain, loss, discomfort. We can't stop that from happening. But the second arrow, the one of suffering, of resistance, of thinking this shouldn't be happening, that's the one we fire at ourselves, and it's launched by the bow of expectation. When you see the structure of reality clearly, you just stop firing that second arrow. This insight is what finally ends the argument with reality. The point of mindfulness isn't to find some safe, stable place to hide in the present moment. It's to see so clearly, using the present moment as your evidence, why no place could ever be a lasting refuge. And when you see that, when you really truly see it, you finally stop searching. You stop demanding that the universe be something other than what it is. And that is a profound kind of freedom.